Welcome to the Wedco podcast, where wedding wisdom meets street smarts.
We're dishing out all the tips, tricks, and wedding goss to take your wedding to the next level.
Time to ditch the formalities and get this party started. Hello and welcome to the Wedco podcast. I am Togger.
And I'm Joel, and we're here at the beautiful Fig Tree restaurant.
We certainly are. And today on the podcast, Shane Shepherd on the podcast with us. How you going,
Gentlemen,
mate?
Welcome. Great.
Thank you so much. First photographer up. How's it feel?
Mate, it's an honour. It's a privilege.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to be at Fig Tree Restaurant where I feel like this is my second home.
Yep.
I've shot so many weddings here.
Yeah.
And just to be sitting in the dining hall, hanging out with you guys.
Indeed.
I feel like when we jump on like
setup.
Byron Bay weddings or something and it's like every second photo is yours.
Well, yeah.
He's like, how do I make it every first?
just the good ones, yeah?
It's not enough. It needs to be everyone. Just joking. There's so many good photographers around this area. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to pull that mic in a tiny little
Oh, a little
closer?
bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, sorry. Photography is my thing, not videography. No.
Well, do you want to start maybe telling us a little bit about yourself and your business and how's it been going?
Yeah, like from the very beginning.
From the beginning of time?
From the beginning of time. Well, I started in 2011, and yeah, I grew up in the area, but I was in Adelaide, and I was working at the Adelaide Fringe Festival, and I'd been doing events for probably 10 years, and I was touring in bands as well.
Okay,
and the whole sort of events and touring in bands and that whole thing. And then I was also shooting on tour.
Yeah.
I just brought this old Pentax film camera.
Yeah.
And I was just taking photos of behind, backstage. Didn't really think much of it. I had a little band tour blog thing that we were doing. I was in a band called Think Tank at that point. And I then was doing so many tours, playing guitar, pretending to be a rock star. Yeah. And then I ended up getting tinnitus, however you pronounce it. And the ringing in my ears just got so bad that I ended up going to an audiologist, and he was like, look, man, I highly recommend you not tour like ever again, or you're going to go deaf, sort of thing. So that really spun me out. And so the boys, they were all the guys in Think Tank. We were about to do a European tour, and I was pretty pumped. We'd done this album, and I ended up going, you know what? I don't think I can do. I think it was 28 shows in 30 days, and I was like, my ears were like, and I was like, okay, I think I've rocked out way too much, and I think I need to bow out. So we'd done the album, and they went off, and I trained up a new guitarist, and then waved them goodbye. I was like, damn it. But it was really good because then I had to have that big conversation, as you do when you're at a crossroads. And I realized, well, actually this photography thing I've been doing on the road with, behind the scenes and the documentary stuff, I was actually really enjoying it. I was like, well, you can't hurt your ears with photography. Yep. So I thought, why not give it a crack? So literally just bought a 5D Mark II and a 24-70.
Love it.
And just went, all right, I'm going to do this thing. I did actually think I was going to be a fashion photographer. I had it in my head that I was going to do that. But after doing a few shoots personally, I was like, nah, it's not really for me. I want it to be a bit more, bit more chaotic. Which is where the weddings come in.
Weddings.
And I mean that in a nice way. But I just wanted things to be, I just wanted to shoot real people, basically. So we left, as I'd said, I'd grown up here, and so I was like, here's my chance. I'd just gotten married to my lovely wife, Dee, who's also a photographer. We went to Brisbane, and we were there for a couple of years, but ultimately I just wanted to come back down to Byron Bay. So anyway, made the transition, and I just worked super hard, worked a day job, and just plugged away at the photography thing. And here I am, 500 plus weddings.
That's just last
later. Just last year. Yeah, the COVID catch-up weddings was 500. 500 catch-up weddings. That was insane. Actually, I think it was 72 weddings last year because it was just that, the catch-ups and the new bookings, and for some reason I failed at mathematics, and I could have easily just counted all of the weddings. I'm like, actually, 50's enough or 60's enough, but I just didn't didn't realize how far in I was until it was like June, July. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what have I done? But
Yeah.
it was actually great. It was really, really good. And saying that, I won't be doing that
Not doing
again.
72 again.
No. That was just like so taxing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just like your body's like, just no breaks, no downtimes. And then obviously, as you guys know, editing is
Yep.
even with the AI stuff, you know,
Yeah.
it's not, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not-
for
we're not-
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Elon Musk, like the Neuralink or something.
Yeah.
It's
Instead of
like-
just thinking what you want.
yeah, just look at it, done. Great.
Yeah, perfect.
One day.
Do you and Dee shoot together at all?
Dee's more, she's shot maybe 100 weddings as a second for
Yep.
me, but she's a brilliant family
Perfect.
photographer. She shoots commercial stuff. She's
Yeah.
shot for Jetstar and
Oh, well.
the iconic
Yep.
places like that. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but she does shoot weddings, but just not to. I mean, we have little kids as well. We've got
Yeah.
3 kids. So if we're both shooting on weekends, they're like, not happy, Jan.
Yeah.
They're not happy with us. So we're like, we just have to like. It's sort of a bit of a whoever's gets the booking, then the other person
Does the
that's
other.
the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
perfect. And
yeah.
then
Anyway,
a lot of your weddings, are they, how much % are in Byron versus everywhere else? Are you still traveling a little bit for work?
well, pre-COVID, it was 50% local.
Yep.
And then the rest was Sydney, Melbourne.
Yep.
A lot of Sydney, Melbourne weddings. And then I was shooting internationally a little bit, maybe
Yep.
4 or 5 overseas weddings a year. But then COVID happened and everything's just become, I feel like I've become more focused just locally. I don't know. I really like sleeping in my own bed.
Yeah.
As well. And I think too, like there's a real romance about destination wedding
is.
photography.
Yeah.
Completely.
But in reality, it's pretty
lonely.
it's a pretty lonely experience.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
great. It's good and to do it. But I my hat goes off to anyone that does destination.
Yeah.
Like
regularly,
consistently.
yeah.
Like I know, like my good buddy Jonas Peterson.
Yep.
That's not a name
A
drop.
little, yeah.
No, but like Jonas is. I just like, man, I can't do that.
Yep.
It's just like everything is destination.
Yep.
You know. So in terms of like being a dad and
Yeah.
spending time with your kids, and they're still young. They're 7 and 10 and 13. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't want to do that to them. I don't want to be gone every week.
It's
you know?
tough.
Yeah.
Especially like when they're younger, it's really nice working weekends because you're home all week with them, and then all of a sudden they're at school, and then you're gone on the weekends as well.
Yeah, it's just like
it's tough.
And then you can just picture, like, I just imagine, like, my like, say, my 13-year-old Frankie, I can just picture her, like, when she's 23, her going, oh, so what are your parents like? Yeah, like, they're photographers. Yeah, I didn't really see my dad much. You know?
Dad was never
Yeah,
around.
he was never really around. He was a destination wedding photographer. I'm just like, I don't want to be that guy. So,
Yeah.
But I feel very lucky to live in this area.
Yeah,
we
for
just
sure.
have so many great venues and so many great vendors, and we just the quality of humans in love getting married in this area. It's I feel really lucky that we kind of just found ourselves here. We made a choice to be here, but
course.
just the way that it's like we've been shooting weddings now since 2011, 2012, and the industry over the last 12 years has just grown so much.
Changed it a lot for sure.
Because it was, I'm sure you remember what it was like before the council kind of came in and started
for sure.
putting in measures about sound and things, but it was pretty wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a lot of there were weddings / some sort of wild party.
Yeah, bush stuff's going off.
Yeah,
And
it was great. It was good fun, but I get it. I get that it had to change.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
But yeah, now that we're all 25, it is nice to be back in our beds after a hard day.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, and now it's interesting. Like I've shot all these weddings and I'm still here and I'm still enjoying it. But I'm finding where we're at now with the economy and all that. And I was reading there was an article in the New York Times about the engagement gap. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't. No.
So it was more American focused, but I think we had COVID here, so I think it all
Still
applies.
translates.
Still translates. So I think that the basis of the article was it takes 3.5 years for two people to meet each other
Yep.
and fall in love and getting, that relationship to blossom
Yeah.
and get engaged and get married. So it's like 3.5 years is the average.
Okay.
And but with COVID, no one could really meet anybody. So they're calling it an engagement gap.
Yeah.
So which is a very bizarre thing to think about. But yeah, COVID actually had this huge impact on falling in love.
That makes so much sense.
It does. Like with how, pretty much across the board, everyone you chat to, they're pretty quiet for next year.
Yeah.
And then that does start to tie in a little bit. You're like, okay, that does make sense.
I'm like, that is so bizarre, but it makes a lot of sense. Like if you were single and you were like, I would love a lovely human to connect with and maybe make babies and get married to and stuff, or not make babies. Some people don't want to make babies, but you know what I mean. Spend my life with. But if you're not allowed out of your house, it's amazing how that's now we're seeing the follow on from that. And here we are, 2023 going to 2024. Yeah. And next year, I mean, normally I would have look, people are still booking, but it's more last minute.
Definitely.
It's seriously like 3 months out.
3 months out. Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Like normally people would book me a year, 18 months.
Minimum, yeah.
Yeah. So, so there's definitely a trend.
Can we go back to that? I really like having the year plan. Like I can see what I'm doing for my year.
Yeah.
It's really nice when someone books 2 months out and you're like, money's coming in now.
Yes.
But also like having that year and you can plan your year. We're going on holidays here. We're doing this. It's really nice.
Yes.
So can we just go back to that? That'd be
that
amazing.
would be really nice. Maybe 2025.
Yeah.
You'll put that in place.
Yeah. I'll put arrangements in now and we'll get that happening. Yeah. Hey, it's Shane Shepherd from Byron Bay. Where's Byron Bay? Anyway, forget that. Look, I'm just letting you know that 2025 is going to be flat out. People are going to be getting married. It's just sort that out for us. Cheers.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm using an old school.
Just like dialing up like this.
Yeah. Anyway, so bizarre. It's just it's a really interesting. Yeah, even now we're still seeing the effects of COVID, which is very And how weird was COVID, everybody?
No, it's a thing of the past. We're done.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Yeah, exactly. What was that? Didn't exist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you did touch about AI just a second ago.
Yes.
I mean, I think that it'd be a good thing to talk about as well.
Yeah.
I'm definitely leveraging it in my business.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it probably gets our images to 80%, and then you're kind of going back and doing your little finishing touches there. Yeah. It saved us a bunch of time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Are you using it in business?
I am. I'm finding, I have a love-hate thing with it because I see it's almost like you're committing to you're committing to the idea of it, I think, more than people are probably going to disagree with me, other photographers. But I find that because I use Imagen.
Yep.
Right. So I'm sending I'm running everything through that. I get it back and I'm still obviously individually going through each of those edits. So it's saving me time, but I'm still, it's not like I'm sending it, like I'm doing my cull and sending it through and then I get this finished product. I know that it's still early days. We're in the early stages of AI, but it would be great if we could just cut to that. Because I just find I'm just like, great, I've got it all back, and now I'm individually editing all my images anyway. So, but I think it's sort of like we're all confident that it's going to get so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
That we're putting our money on the table and we're going, okay, I'm going to train the algorithm to edit like me and all that sort of stuff. So but I don't know. I do use it, but I'm like, nah.
Yeah. I feel like for new photographers, it would be amazing. Like I wish when we came into it and your white balance is way out and your exposure's up and down, like just to get you to like the happy medium and like, cool, this is a good starting point.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, From that perspective, absolutely. If you, had just started and you've got this massive gallery and you've culled it down and okay, now you've got 700 photos and you're like, okay, they're my bangers. That's what I'm going to deliver. But that's quite overwhelming for someone that's probably new to the game.
Yeah.
I actually, to be honest, when I think back, I remember spending like 30 hours on a wedding at the start, just like painstaking, like second guessing every single decision, like, oh my God, it's too warm, or it's too cool, or is that too contrasty? Or so obviously we're kind of through that now. So but absolutely, so it's such an advantage, like mirrorless, for new photographers, like being able to see what's going on, like in real time, and AI and all those sorts of things. I feel like would be a really cool time to start photography now in some ways.
Yeah.
But
especially even just seeing the advancement in cameras. Like I've only been doing it for like 6 years or something now, and so I was pretty blessed. Like my first camera was an A7 A7 III, and so like I came in and that was
absolute weapon,
amazing.
Of a camera.
Yeah. And then like I remember I was doing a project a couple of years later, and then I used a Canon Mark III.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, dude, this thing sucks.
It's Mark so bad.
Mark IIIs were epic,
but they were so good when they came.
Yeah, at the time I was like, I remember the Mark IV came out and I was like, but the Mark III is so great.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh my God, I've got a Mark III that I just bring on like, camping trips and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my, what is this?
I don't even know what missing focus means.
Yeah.
It's just the autofocus was so good.
The eye tracking is just it's just I'm like, where have you been all my life?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's slightly cheating, you know.
Yeah.
But it's great because then you just focus on like composition and like the actual interaction with the client and all those sorts of things. So
and then you go back to like using a film camera. I remember I got one of them and I was just like, oh my gosh, this taking one photo takes so long, and I was like hunting in and out. I was, what am I doing? I'm like, just give me a digital.
But it's artistic, when it's out of focus, it's good.
Exactly.
Hashtag art. Yeah. There's lots. There's a lot of intentional missing focus. And,
some motion blur going on.
Yeah,
and
some motion blur.
Yeah.
Like,
over the last year or so, I feel like that's become massive of like showing slowing the shutter speed way down, or, pulling something out of focus just slightly. Any ideas where that kind of came from? Is it just because we're just all trying to be artsy now?
Yeah, I reckon it's a throwback to film from the 60s and 70s, I would say, and there's something very nostalgic and romantic about that imagery. Like black and white scene in a street of a couple kissing, and it's and I think this kind of like off. Yeah, I think it's like because street photographers are probably like on the fly, like bang, got it, got that moment, and now people are like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. But it was because they had to, because it was like bang.
Exactly.
They're trying to steal a moment without being caught, but now we're doing it intentionally.
Exactly.
But there's definitely something nostalgic. I get it. I don't know. I don't really shoot like that. I don't really like. And there's this whole. I think along with that there's a whole lot of editorial. Resurgence going on now in wedding photography,
for sure,
which is cool.
Yeah,
I really like it. But at the same time, I've been chatting with a couple of photographers recently about how they're feeling like, oh, should I be kind of going into like, because they feel like they're having, some photographers are feeling like, oh, am I kind of losing touch with where the scene is, and should I be like, adopting this like a more editorial approach to my photography.
I feel that heavier than ever.
Yeah.
Like I had this style, this individual style, and then I was just like, same thing, like, bookings start thinning up and all those types of things, and you're like, and then you see, like your work or Dan Schaefer or something, you see someone's work and you're like, dude, that's sick, and I've got to be like that. But then you're like, but like I don't want to be like that because that's that point of difference. And
this is my take. I've come to the conclusion that I just think everyone if you're a photographer or a videographer or whatever, just double down on who you are.
Completely.
Yeah. Just don't even like you can, I think too, because we consume so much hashtag content. So we're just seeing all this stuff and we're like, oh my God, I've got it. But you don't have to. You really don't have to. You just do you.
I think that's such a cool point. There's a guy on Instagram, I can't remember I think it's like Jackson Weddings or something like that. And I see his stuff. His colours are the most vibrant colours I've ever seen in my life. He shoots on, I swear, like a 16mm, like 3/4 of the day. And just everything's like almost looks like fisheye. But he's got some of the most like epic compositions. Whereas everything else, that we see these days is all like you can see it's either a 35 or a 50, maybe sometimes an 85. Whereas these is like, he's getting a low shot and he's got like the bride's foot in focus, and then the couple's like cheersing like a champagne or something over top. I'm like, that's so cool. Like it was jarring to see because we haven't really seen that, because we are seeing a lot more editorial. Whereas I was like, he was just everything left of field, like vibrant, just all the things. I was like, that's
it's
sick.
like it's so. And then as also a musician, like the equivalent would be you're in a band and then you're doing your thing, and then now there's like like when we had like all that electronic pop stuff like cut copy, and then everyone started to try and do that cut, sort of that kind of introduce that kind of hi-hats like.
Definitely.
Lights and music on my... But everyone kind of did that. That was a bit of a trend. Yeah. That was a trend. And then we kind of... I'm just like... But like a real artist, you just go, well, I've got my thing. Yeah. And I'm just going, then that's great that these people are doing their things. But I just need to focus on what it is.
Yeah.
And then I truly believe if you do that, you'll always have... there's so many people in the world.
Yeah.
And now that we have the internet, that's a new thing. I'm not sure if
you've heard of it. Yeah, the kids are into or something like that.
Yeah. It's a bit of a Gen Z thing, guys. But anyway, look it up.
Yeah.
But
on the internet.
on the internet. What was I going to say? God, now I've forgotten. No, I just think, doubling down, really focusing on what it is that makes you makes you unique is going to stand out, because otherwise, and it's not just, I'm not just picking on photography or anything. I'm not picking on anything, but it is interesting that there is that style, and that's great. If that's authentically what you want to do, then awesome, go for it. Me personally, I've thought about it and I'm like, nah, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I'm slightly, maybe a little bit quirky, and there's a lot of energy with what I do. I don't really focus on the romance of a wedding. I focus more on the celebration and the spirit of the day.
Yeah, okay.
That's obviously not for everyone. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's definitely scary, particularly if you're not seeing the bookings coming in and stuff, then you're like, oh my God, is it because I'm not doing this new trend as a photographer? So I don't think it's that. I personally think it's just a funny time.
Yeah. I feel like it's just marketing. Like
just, marketing.
Yeah. If you can, like obviously, if you've already got the caliber of being a high, really good photographer, it just comes down to like, oh, maybe my marketing isn't, groundbreaking anymore, and everyone's doing different things and moving on, and it's hard to keep up with the current trends as far as marketing goes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's never what you signed up for. I didn't sign up to be a marketer and be on TikTok and everything, but now it's like, I've got to do it and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And even when Joel came in, I'd already been maybe doing this for 7 years.
Yeah.
And to see someone new come in, and I was watching Joel on Instagram, and I really hate Instagram, but he's like doing like, here I am having a coffee, here am I doing this. And you can tell that he's really authentic about it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm doing it, I'm like, here I am at the beach. Like, I don't give a shit, but I just feel like people want to see that. So here it is. And I think people can actually see that as well.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
I 100%, like 3 years ago, I was like, God damn it. I'm done with Instagram. I can't stand social media. And I took like about 2 years where I virtually didn't post.
Wow.
And I was like, I was so busy anyway. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I need, and it wasn't just me. There were other, photographers, not just in Australia, but, in other parts of the world, where it was almost like rebelling against what it was, because it's so demanding. Like you become the product and you're fueling, so if you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok or whatever it is, that like that platform needs you to create interesting
100%.
stuff so that more users engage,
but
you yourself become the product. So it's not just like you're a really great wedding photographer. You're doing all the work. You're looking after your couples, and you're doing all the things. But on top of that, you're not big enough to have like this social media team. So then all of a sudden it's like on you. So at this point, I do want to say I've come around to the reality of it though, like you, where I'm like, actually, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I've started posting regularly again and doing all the things. So I accept this is part of what it is to.
It's another tool.
Yeah, it's just a tool, and it's okay.
Do you use like a Planoly or something like that? Like, are you scheduling?
I use Planoly.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so good. Like to be able to put like, okay, here's a month. Because like same thing, you get to the end of 4 weeks and you're like, I didn't post. Yeah. And you're like,
because if you're flat out, you're like editing in the back cave, and then you come out the other end and you're like, oh my God, I haven't posted in like 3 weeks or whatever. So but yeah, it's interesting. I think like for example, like what you guys are doing, you know what I mean? I think it's like there's so many opportunities to put yourself out into the world.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's been really good because I've gone, okay, well, I was looking at the negatives of social media, but I think it's, as far as I can tell, it's going to become more and more a part of what we do as not just photographers and videographers, but everyone, like anyone that's creative.
Yeah.
It's part of, like, people genuinely want to know who you are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one time, Dee and I, our fridge broke down. This is going to be the most boring story ever. we went into like
cut to end of story.
Cut. Delete this now. We went into a Harvey Norman and we're like, oh my God, we're going to buy a fridge. Anyway, this guy, like, we wanted this. We went in specifically to get this fridge, but we didn't like the dude who was selling. Yep. And we were like, no, I'm not buying from this guy. And we just turned around, walked out and went somewhere else. Yep. So what's this got to do with anything? So basically, it's just like, so people really love to buy from like a product or a service from people that they like.
Completely.
So it's just so important. And I've realized, God damn it, change habit. You need to just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty likable kind of guy. So Steve's like,
debatable.
But
I've seen you dance.
I like to dance. I've danced at every wedding I've ever shot, actually. So
those hips are still moving.
When I say dance, I don't mean I'm not professing I can dance. I'm just saying
it's like
danced.
a dad dance, just moving the hips a little bit.
Like that cactus.
Yeah. Sort of like MC Hammer. That kind of style. Anyway.
So what are your thoughts? Like, if you've kind of come, like, are you putting your face and say you're more of your social life on social media?
Not yet.
And okay. And so if you're not doing it, like you said, not yet, you want to do that?
Yeah. I do. I really do. So one of the things that I'm doing is like there's a new website build happening at the moment, and there's videos of me talking about all my stuff. So I'm literally like, as in, say you guys are a couple.
Yep. Okay.
We basically are.
We're looking for a photographer.
You look very...
Thank you.
Very relaxed with
I'm
one
the man.
another.
I'm the little spoon.
Little spoon. Big spoon, little spoon. It just being able to talk to the camera, for example, and just like talk about what I do. And these are the albums that I do. And this is how... Because I just feel like people almost expect that from you now as a creative. Like they want to they want that so that when they meet with you, it's more just getting to know you and just having a chat about them rather than... Yeah, because I feel like doing, not that I have a sales pitch or a spiel, but I think if you can just do away with that, people go, all right, I already know how much you charge, what the vibe is and all that. And now it's just making sure we
That's like my number one thing I do to my couples is I'm like, you've already seen my work. You already know if you like it or not. I don't need to tell you what my style is or like I can kind of give you a general idea, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to be a good fit for your day. Yeah. It's not like, sure, we want bookings of money and stuff, but also there's going to be a good photographer.
They're hiring a third wheel. They're basically like, they're like, because like I say to everyone, if you're not, no matter how good the photographer is, if you are not comfortable with your photographer, then it's not gonna. It's not gonna fly.
How do you? No. Oh. Wait. Okay, so I'm assuming you book a lot of out of state or like couples that aren't from Byron.
Quite a lot of Sydney, Melbourne. No.
Okay. Then how do you get that through with your marketing? Like, are you Zooming couples or like how does that work?
FaceTime almost. Always FaceTime.
FaceTime, not Zoom.
Everyone has a bloody iPhone. The occasional Zoom. But it's always video call. Even if they're local, it's amazing. Everyone's like, we'll just FaceTime. So, but a lot of Sydney, Melbourne couples. I don't know. I'm sure Che from Byron Bay Weddings will fill you in on the next, you're meeting with him next. So I'm sure he has the stats of how many couples are from that. I don't shoot that many local couples,
sure. Especially around Byron for sure.
It's because we're all broke.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't afford it.
I can't afford to live here anymore.
$12 for 2 liters of milk or something.
$18 smoothie.
Yeah, I know. That is true. Bear blends. $18. I was like, when she went, because I didn't look at the board. I just ordered. I was like, I want this green smoothie thing. That'll be $18. And I was like,
no, not 2. I want 1.
Not 6, just 1. It's amazing. I'm like, okay, all right, never again.
I was going to loop it back to what you said before about third wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about content creators and the third wheeling there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So because Steve and I, we were chatting about the content creators thing. So even in just the last 6 months, like every second wedding now, there's a content creator, someone with an iPhone typically. And they're there, so you've got your photographer, you've got your videographer, maybe there's 2 of them, and you've also got a content person that's getting all of that footage and basically getting all the footage to create reels. And so that's a whole other, it's just so new.
Yeah.
And I'm actually pretty chill with it. Yeah. I'm like, that's okay. I mean, I just like people.
Yeah.
I'm okay with I know some people, like some photographers and are like, oh my God, like there's this other, there's
another entity
floating about. But I kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it also kind of takes pressure off you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like next day deliveries and everything like that.
Yeah. Because that's not something I've ever been able
on a Sunday.
It's like last thing you want to do, you're tired, your legs are sore, back sore, whatever.
I feel like as long as they do like a little traineeship and actually know how a wedding runs, that's the biggest thing. Like if you can tag along to like 4 or 5 weddings and actually learn, because you can be out of place so often at a wedding. Like if you don't know what you're doing, and then like all of a sudden the rings, like doing it for so long, you know where everything's going to happen. But if you've got no idea, you're just in the way.
Yeah. So, and I think the challenging thing, if you're a content creator and you're there and you're being paid to get this, if you're not if you don't have any experience as a photographer or doing film in terms of using an SLR, and you're not familiar with lenses, so many times I'm shooting, say the bride's coming down the aisle, and they don't know that I'm say shooting on a 24. So they have no idea that actually they're in the shot. And so that's something that I always have a little chat just before. Very friendly, not condescending, but just like, hey guys, so where are you standing? Like during the, but I just totally accept that that's just part of it. I think it's great. Like I shot Rachel and Rob, she got married to another person. It wasn't just her. Rachel from the Events Lounge. She's a bit of an institution in these parts. And I shot her wedding on the weekend. I keep saying her wedding. Sorry, Rob.
But
they had Tanya from
Creative House.
And it was spelled Haus.
House.
Which is house.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so it makes it like instantly like just
hip. It's trendy.
Hip. It's trendy.
It's on the internet.
Interwebs or something. I don't know. I'm going to look that up. But she's great. But she said she's been doing it for 2 years, which basically makes her like
she's an OG content creator
in the terms of in terms of content creation. But I get it. I think it makes sense, and it just means you can share something really awesome with everyone.
And I think it's like even I've kind of I do a bunch of weddings where I'll be the videographer only, and I'm working in with a photographer.
Right.
And like I had one only a couple of months ago, and it was the worst photographer I've ever worked with. She'd never worked with a videographer before.
Oh, wow.
She was like a rural out Townsville somewhere way. I don't really know. And even my editor, he was like, dude, this chick stood up in every single one of your shots. Like even like first kiss, literally just walked straight in. And I was like, cool.
Just like stood in front of you.
Yeah. Just like for some reason, she was on a 35mm all day and just kept walking closer, even though I was still on a 35mm as well, and just kept walking. And I was like,
it's tough.
It's tough. So tough. Like, it's not even just at like content creators. It's like like photo, video, and content creators, like them as an entity. But like as that kind of creative team, you know, we rock up to weddings and we're like, okay, what's your plan for the ceremony? Like, I'm probably going to stand here and I'm going to get this angle, and you know, whatever you need. If I'm just going to walk back, get a wide before you put a tripod there, or whatever needs to happen. As long as I think there's that conversation, I think we're fine, and everyone's, you know, respectful of whatever we need to get. Because at the end of the day, like, it's not for us, it's for the couple.
It's just, that's the thing. I think that that photographers and videographers, it's like that movie Step Brothers.
Yeah.
You've seen that?
It's totally.
It's like your mum and dad, you've got a different, your dad falls in love with your mum.
Yep.
But there's that bit before they become best friends where they're like, hey, you know, and then they've got to share a bunk bed together. And
did you just touch your balls with my trunks?
It's pretty great, but you've got to get through that and go, all right, well, these guys are getting married. We need to be friends and make this work.
You can hate me at the end of the day. It's fine.
Yeah. But then usually by the end, you're like,
your best buds.
Are we best friends?
Yeah. Sitting there having a wine together, like at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, don't you reckon? It's just having some emotional intelligence and respect for the other person's craft. Like if you're a videographer, you're working super hard. I could not do video.
Yeah.
I just find post-production is for me, that would be, I'm pretty confident I have ADHD. So I would struggle to sit there and do the post.
And you can't listen to podcasts or anything. You got to try to be in it. It's tough.
Yes.
Like at least photos you're editing, you listen to podcasts or doing whatever, and you can kind of keep going. But video
so
is
much respect
hard.
to the videographers out there.
In saying that, like it's so amazing. We shoot a lot of photo video together, and when you rock up to a wedding and it's just photo, it is so nice to have no one else there. Like the creativity that you can get when you're not worried about anyone else.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yeah, because I'm always looking like where are they?
Yep.
You know, like there she is. She's shooting over there.
Like
she's
ring shots and stuff like that. You can just kind of get anywhere, and it's so nice. Like when it doesn't happen very often anymore.
Yeah, no.
But when you get those days when it's just you're like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also when I'm shooting weddings with videographers, I really make sure, because I do find, you know, photographers, we're kind of directing the whole shooting,
definitely running the day.
Yeah,
the shooty thing. So if I'm shooting and I'm kind of getting what I need, but I'm always like, how is this going to look for video? So I try not to do much static. Like I try not to do too many like posing or anything. I just want because I figure, well, the people doing video, they just want movement. You know, they're not going to use a couple just standing there looking at each other.
Yeah,
some do.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Actually, not some. A lot. A lot do.
Like the static.
Yeah, they just have them stand still. Like, and honestly, the videographers might even pose in there, and they're just like, everything's in slow motion, pushing on 60 frames, and the couple just like looking at each other. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's
don't book those.
I feel really bad because I think that it's great. I think videography is one of those things that Dee and I, when we got married, we didn't have video, and I really wish we did. But in saying that, I don't. At the time, we've been married. Oh my God, 13 years. That makes me extremely old now. Best 13 years of my life, but which is basically half my life or whatever. But yeah, video. I just really wish we had video.
Yeah.
Because but at the same time, I think there's again, it's like there's things that are done in videography, and this again, I'm going to get beaten up online over this, but like there's things that are done in videography, and that are done where it's like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like for example, I shot a wedding. There's a couple here actually, Kelly and Greg. It was so loud during the ceremony. It was actually just behind me.
Yep.
It was pouring with rain. It was like that inside here was like packed. And it was anyway. All their friends were so rowdy. They're really loud. It was a Jewish wedding. It was wild.
Yeah.
I've got these custom musician earplugs that I wear later in the night.
Yeah.
Like if there's a band or a DJ.
When you're
playing.
dancing, how do you dance again?
And I had to put my earplugs in for the ceremony because I was like, oh my God, like it was so loud. It was anything that they did, people was like, yeah, super fun, really, really fun day. Anyway, the videographer, I was, what they captured and what I captured was so you couldn't like. So my photos were like just basic capturing the vibe on the day. So everything looked fun. Everyone's like laughing and having a great time. The video, the guy, Kelly and Greg sent me the video, and it was beautiful. It was really well done. However, it looked like it was the most romantic, low key day on ever. It was like slow motion, like twinkly music.
Yeah,
it was very beautiful. But I was like, wow, that's so jarring. The difference. Yeah. So it just goes to show you can really create. Like if you really can change. Yeah. You can project whatever you want. Yeah. You can make a movie and make it look however you want to make. Yeah, definitely. Make it look. So yeah, it's amazing how much power film has.
Yeah. And I shoot I guess I probably do go for like the more like romantic side of things. And I remember like this was
judging you. So
I know. Right this would have been Me too. Maybe 10 years ago. I would just second shot for Todd Hudder. And
really? He's talking to Toddy on the way here.
Oh, awesome. There you go. Todd. Yeah. I told him to come on and he's like, I don't think I've got anything to offer. I'm like, I think you do. I think he will.
Classic Todd.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, he's got too much to offer.
Yeah. But he was very much about, like when I shot for him, he was very much about the party and the atmosphere and like you said, like more so the celebration than the event.
Yeah.
And so even I remember like, you know, people like sitting down and they're having dinner and they're cheersing and just going about doing their candid thing. And for me, I'm like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
But you could see him walking around and getting all these tiny little interactions the whole time. And it just shows you how much difference the actual photographer in there, how they approach the day, how much difference the photos can be.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have delivered anything from then. But then you see his photos later on of what he delivered and you're like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah. But while you were talking, I was thinking, well, another way to look at this is perhaps the videography is about getting the stuff that maybe I'm not getting. Maybe there are stuff there that I'm just not seeing. You know, that whole thing of that saying the world is a mirror. So it's like if you're looking for that, then you're going to find it. I'm not really looking for those romantic moments and stuff as much. So perhaps if you know, you're a romantic guy, Steve.
We're romantic.
So maybe you're seeing that where I'm, and we all have our own sort of unique way of seeing the world and approaching and interacting with
You're probably
people.
capturing it as you would want someone to capture your day, essentially.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
But even just like how you were saying, you know, photo and video kind of capturing two different things.
Yeah.
That's absolutely like that's, you know, bringing video into my business. And I was like, cool, I'm going to capture like a lot more of like the in-between moments. So it's like while the bridal party is like, you might get them to do this pose, like I shouldn't say pose, but like you just want a nice big formal photo of the whole bridal party. And so it's like, cool, that kind of looks pretty crap on video. And so then it's like, once we've got that shot, then what happens between that and the next shot, that's what I want for video.
Yeah.
And so it's like piecing those pieces together. I'm still going to get the shot of like the whole bridal party, but it's probably not going to be, it's more like a filler shot. And so like, that's why I think like video is just so like.
Also you get everything with video as well. Whereas, you're like being very deliberate about what you're getting for a still image. Like you've either nailed it or you haven't.
Yeah. And you can kind of see, like you said before, like composition, you look at it and you're like, this is probably going to be a black and white, or it's like the lighting's not great, or, you know, those types of things. Whereas, the video, you just like kind of capture it all and then you're like, cool, we're going to make this into something epic later.
Like I wasn't going to have a videographer, and then I think it was like 4 days out from my wedding.
I think
No way.
I think it was 3.
Yeah. My wife and I got married over in Italy, and Joel had just done a styled shoot like for video.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, nah, we don't we don't need video. It wasn't that expensive, but it was still, you know, you paid a lot of money for your wedding. And then Joel like just sent me through this video, and he's like, oh, this is what I did. And I was like, dude, can you jump on a plane? And like, so it was like, it was like literally maybe 3 days.
Video ever.
3 days before the wedding, and flew him over. And same thing, like just being able to, like my mother-in-law, you know, had surprise fireworks and all the jazz for us. And like the photo, cool. But then you see the video and you're like, it's epic. Yeah. It's so much different.
There's absolutely.
There's emotion. There's like.
Yeah.
You can tell emotion through a photo, but like video just tells it different.
Absolutely. There's some stuff where I'm like, I really wish that I could film this right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I could by just hitting the record button on the back of the camera. But you're like, this would be so cool. This just, a still photo will not do this justice. Yeah. So,
and then there's also the opposite. I swear, I would shoot a wedding on video only, and there's a photographer. I'm like, damn, this would have been so good for like a photo.
So, Joel, how did you go? First wedding, you're shooting Steve's wedding. You've never done video before. Had you ever like? Filmed. You've done video, but not a wedding.
I was working at a wakeboard park before I kind of got into the wedding scene. And so I was filming like a lot of the riders and stuff and doing that sort of stuff. And then we got a part of this styled shoot, and Steve was like, I'm going to be the photographer. They don't really want any, like 2 photographers. There's no need for 2 photographers. And I was like, sweet, I'll do video. Like it'd just be a good one to be a part of. And then that's kind of how that all happened. And so, honestly, like I had 3 days to prepare. So I just hit up a mate that had a drone. I was like, can I borrow your drone? Took that over and just binged a bunch. I mean, I was already kind of binging a lot of content before. Like Steve said, I did definitely live on like Instagram and stuff like that, trying to invest in myself of what I can bring different to the market and, you know, my business and all that sort of stuff. Definitely the mentality of like capture everything and do something with it later, because I didn't really know. There was no real storyline.
It's a great approach.
What?
But it
was a dream wedding.
Like it's for sure. Like my wife Shannon, she still watches the video today, and she's like, even though like you had no idea what you're doing, but like even though you had no idea what you're doing, like it's still one of her favorites today, easily for sure. Good. Like it's my like real. It's like my thumbnail video on like my Vimeo and all that. Like
he says this to every couple.
Yeah, like it's my favorite. I watch it daily.
When you're on shoots, do you have second photographers much when you're shooting?
Not really. I basically, unless it's over, say, 120 weddings, 120 guests, I'll try to just do it on my own. Yeah. The only time I would ever bring in a second shooter is if, for example, they're, one of the, say, person A is getting ready in Burleigh Heads and person B is getting married. Or getting ready in Byron Bay.
Yeah, okay.
Something. Other than that, I try to do everything myself.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just so many photos.
So
many images to cull.
Yeah.
So,
and you can get 97% of what you need.
Yeah.
Like you said, might be a photo here or there that you never really going to know that they're missing. But also, like, I think as it kind of, we started adding video, and then it's like videographer might be one or two people, or sometimes three, and then you got the content creator. You got like 6 different cameras pointing at you.
Yeah,
it's pretty intimidating.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, and obviously if you've got a big team, if there's like a wedding and there's like 50 guests or 80 guests, and you've got a photographer, second, 2 videographers, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a little.
So 10% of their wedding party is you guys.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. So yeah, and obviously the whole thing for me, like the more that I shoot, now that I've been going for 12 years, 13 years, the more that I shoot, the more I realize it's just so important to just let people, do their thing and try not to get in their way as much as you can.
Yep.
And also the more that I shoot, the more that I don't take people away for very long anymore for portraits. I would do, say, 30 minutes total. And I usually break that up into 2 little 15-minute sessions. I just for one, when Dee and I, when we got married, the photographer, I won't say his name, but he took us away.
Jonas Peterson.
It wasn't Jonas Peterson.
It was Todd.
It was Todd. It was Todd Underwood. No, I wish it was Todd. But yeah, we had a photographer. He took us away for 2.5 hours for portraits.
I was going to say, we hear that a lot.
Such a stitch up. And then we came back. We had this, afternoon party thing, and we got back when it was dark, and we literally walked in for the reception.
Yeah.
And my friends were like,
dude, where you been?
It was, they were like,
the day's been epic without you.
Yeah. My mate was like, it's such a great afternoon, should have been here. Yeah. I was like, no. But yeah, and at the time, I was so polite. I feel like Aussies, we're fairly polite too. So, and I was somewhat intimidated by this photographer, and I was like, I just can't tell this guy that I want to cut it.
Yeah.
And I was just starting, and as well, like this was 13 years ago. So I was such a newbie, and I was like, just kind of scared. I didn't say anything, and Dee was like, "No." So we just kind of went along with it, and then 2.5 hours later,
that's full on.
And we didn't, and we're not overly stoked with our photos. Compositionally, they were great, edited really well, but we didn't. Again, going back to that thing about like you have to be really comfortable.
Yeah, definitely.
With your photographer. Sure. We actually look concerned in our photos. We look very concerned and serious with him because we were just like, I don't know. We wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that rapport, that relationship with him where we felt comfortable to say,
Yeah. I think that's huge, is like having a relationship with your creative team, because, we all hear it. You spend the most time with us on the wedding day. We're there for 10 hours, 9 hours, whatever. It's so important.
Yeah.
Like it's so important. How do you go about building that rapport with a client?
I just treat everyone. I don't know. I just feel like most people are inherently good people, and that a lot of the there's these steps that going from a stranger to becoming a friend with someone. Often I feel like you guys have traveled around the world, right? And every country, every place you go. So some people, like some countries you go to, instantly they just go, hey, and then Or I feel like us Australians, we're not standoffish, but I feel like we're
absolutely
pretty polite. And we take a long time to get to know people. And perhaps because I was touring in bands for so long as well, I'd done so many shows and crashed on couches and and lived in pockets with your bandmates and all that. So I'm just like, I just instantly just like when I meet people, I'm genuinely curious. I want to know about them.
Who are you?
And so without sounding like a goober, I'm like, oh, like I don't know. I have a disposition where I genuinely like people, and I think people can tell that I'm not just like trying to. It's not this like fake, like getting to know you because I'm trying to.
It's not
get
an
a
angle.
Booking. No, yeah. Whereas like you go to some wedding venues where it's like, oh my God, you look amazing. Yeah. Oh, thanks so much for coming to the bride or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, you don't talk like that.
Not at all.
Exactly.
That's not you.
Yeah,
that's just a shtick that you've got because that's what your venue does. Well, I try to completely, avoid any. Just be yourself. And anyway, I try not to have any spills. I try not to like when you're FaceTiming couples. Yeah. Just be yourself, and if they don't like you, then that's okay.
So good.
I feel like, especially when you're starting out, the hardest thing starting out in whatever you're doing, photography or otherwise, the hardest thing is that you're so not maybe desperate. Let's say desperate.
Yeah, we'll say
you're desperate for work. Like you just want to get booked and you want to get going. And
let's say hungry.
You're hungry, hungry
for work.
Hungry, #hungry for work. And so there's this sort of like, I have to really, impress them. But in reality, we're all just wanting, like the couples are just wanting to connect and find their team, like their cool little team that are going to help them on the day. Yeah. And once I realized that, it took me about 2 years, and I was like, I just need to forget this, like, because I'd come in and I'd have like my pricing guide printed out and albums and all that kind of stuff, and try and like have a bit of a little itinerary of what we were going to talk about. I'm like, that's so lame. Nobody wants. They already know. They've seen all the stuff. They've got your pricing guide. So So once you relax into what you're doing and find, you really do need to. It's so important just to believe in what you're doing and be okay, and like in your head go, if they're not going to book me, that's okay. Yeah, that's really hard. That's a really hard thing to get to. But
we were talking earlier, like even say come back to Byron Bay weddings and booking. Obviously, there's a lot of super talented photographers.
Yes,
through there. How do you find everyone when you're not a part of a Byron Bay weddings or a scenic rim, like when you're not a part of it, everyone's like so against it. But then like when you're amongst it and like you're talking about the team and the team of everyone, when you rock up here and there's going to be champagne when everyone arrives and it's going to be an epic band and like everything runs smoothly. Yeah. It's so important. I don't know if there was a question to this, but it's just like, it's more showing the importance of how important it is like to go with the team. How are your experiences? Like, are most of the weddings you shoot through Byron Bay weddings, like are they planned and everything through Byron Bay weddings?
I would say like locally, probably 3/4 of all the weddings I do are Byron Bay weddings.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, and for me, it's just like when I shoot, there's those weddings where it's on a rural property and they have to bring in like a marquee and start like all the catering and all that sort of stuff. There's always an element of, there's a bit of a undertone of stress because it's new, there's no flow. And you kind of like, you need a really good team to be able to pull that off. So, and that's fine. Like that's part of it. But it's just there's something to be said by to going to a venue like, for example, Fig Tree, where particularly I find too, if you're a couple and you're living in Melbourne and you're coming up, it's a lot to organise a wedding. You're organising like a little festival for yourself, basically.
And you have no idea who anyone is wherever. Like you're like, you just don't know anyone from. It's out of state. It's somewhere else. So it's like if you can just employ like a team to be able to be like, cool, just you don't have to have them like plan the wedding. Like you can still have your part, or you can, I guess, as well. But yeah, just like knowing that you're hiring professionals and like relying on them and their knowledge and their experience to be able to like bring your wedding today.
And take it from me, Dee and I did DIY.
Yeah, okay.
And it was so stressful on the day.
Tough.
Like, oh my God, what were we thinking? Yeah. We're like, we'll do all these things ourselves and get our friends. I mean, you definitely can do that.
For sure.
One of my favourite weddings I ever shot was in Sydney, and they got everyone to bring like food.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
They had caterers that like took like as soon on arrival, like, here's my thing that I made.
Yeah, okay.
And then they would either put it in fridges or get it, keep it hot. And actually, it was really funny because where they were in Sydney, they had like the backyard kind of came out. Oh, whoops, microphone. The backyard came out onto a rear lane.
Yep.
And then what they did was they went to Cannard's Hire and they hired detour signs and they claimed the rear lane.
That is awesome.
So that they had a band and everything out on that rear lane.
Oh, whoa,
so funny, very brazen.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty hilariously
That's
ingenious. It was funny as. But I mean, they spoke to all of their neighbours. Like, hey, we're doing this wedding.
Yeah.
We're
Lane
doing
party.
something technically illegal, and we're going to detour all the traffic so we can claim this lane. And it worked. They never.
That's
no one
sick.
ever. The police never came or anything. It was so great. I'm going to share that wedding, but it was. That was super, super fun. But that was great. But it was all just in house. It was was good fun. But usually it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Normally it's just you're because also the week of the wedding, if you're getting married and you've got the actual wedding event itself, but the week of the wedding you're going to get text messages from friends like, oh, hey babe, just arrived at the airport. I don't know why I'm speaking like this, but you're like, hey, I've just arrived at the airport. Can't wait to see you. And you're going to get like 80 of those.
Cool, don't care.
Like whatever.
We're setting up detour signs.
Yeah, we're flat out. We're detouring all of Byron. No one's coming in or out. But yeah, like it's a lot. It's actually a lot of social stuff. And I think a lot of couples go, oh, how many weddings have you shot where in the morning of the wedding, like one or both of the couple, they're writing their vows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they thought, the week. I've got all week, the week of the wedding to do that. But on the week of the wedding, you're going to you've got drinks, like a drink, you're going somewhere, you can have drinks with everyone. People are going to be arriving on, say, the Thursday. And then you've got, there's just so much unexpected stuff that you're doing the week of the wedding. So,
and especially in that last 4 weeks, everyone's invoices are due, everyone's questionnaires are due, everyone needs something from you. So it's everything just kind of you get planned, you planned a year and a half out.
And also, if you most people have some sort of form of employment, and they're like, oh my God, and they're trying, because they're going to probably go away for a week or two, so they're trying to wrap that up as well.
Yeah, true.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's a lot to do.
I just want to touch on one more topic. You're very good, we're talking editorial and everything before. You're very good, the Hello Mays, the Vogues and everything like that. From when I started, I was looking at Hello May and I'd always see your photos in there as well. Yeah. How did you go fostering those relationships? Do you think it was just purely the photography that you were taking, or is it an active role that you were taking to try to be featured and networking with those people?
So when Hello May started, Sophie from Hello May emailed me this is when I was living in Brisbane. I think this would have been 2011, and they just started the magazine. And I got an email saying, hey, we're with this new magazine.
Yep.
Would you like to advertise? And I just from the website and the little, the pack, the PDF that she sent me and the rates, I was like, got a good feeling about this.
Yep.
I just could tell that they were going to do really, really well.
Yep.
So I just got back and said, and at that point, I didn't have money. I was, just starting out. I was buying gear and taking on weddings for pretty much free. So
just one more lens, just one more lens.
Just one more. But I really believed in what they were doing, and I could see that there was a big gap in the market. You had the very now controversial X-White magazine.
Yes, yes.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah.
And then you had Cosmo Bride and you had Vogue, but there was nothing that was really like what Hello May has done. It was they really kind of filled that part of the market so well. And then I don't know, I hit it off really well with Sophie and the team, and they have yearly parties down in Sydney. I always go down.
Yeah, cool.
They're just really good people. So I don't know. I think too, there was probably a little bit of luck involved because I had just started, they had just started.
Yep.
And it was just a nice match. I do feel like sometimes it's like hard work and timing as well, So, and I was just shooting in a way that I guess they probably, and maybe they were finding their vibe,
their niche
as well.
Their
niche as well. And here we are. But 12 years later, and I'm still with them.
Yep.
And then there's Vogue as well. I've found Vogue's, I love obviously every photographer, most photographers dream of getting something in Vogue magazine. And I had a really great opportunity. I shot Nicole Warren.
Yep.
She's known as Gary Pepper. Well, she's not now, but she was known as Gary Pepper Girl. And that wedding was in Wanaka. Also, she got married to another person. His name's Luke. It was Nicole's wedding. But that was a really fantastic wedding. What was great about that, because I'd always sort of avoided anything that I felt was like editorial or more posed or structured. But she contacted me and she said that she knows heaps of fashion photographers and editorial photographers, and it was really important to her that it didn't feel like work
for work.
For her. And she's like, but it is going to go in Vogue magazine. So we do have some shots, like a shot list, which was a mile high, but there was a shot list there. And I was a little nervous doing it because I just felt like, is she going to be happy? Am I going to deliver something? But in the end, like I realized she just wanted, like, for her, the most important thing was just, again, spirit of the day. She wanted to have fun. She did want it to feel like work or to go away forever. Even when we flew up to Roy's Peak, in the helicopters. By the way, I realized as we were taking off, I'd never been in a helicopter. And I was like, I'm actually kind of not okay with this. I'm kind of freaking out, man. It's a real experience if you haven't been in a helicopter. But we're only there for 20 or 30 minutes tops. So we got so much great stuff in such a small amount of time. Absolutely freezing, 0 degrees. So, but that was such a great experience for me because it showed me actually you can shoot weddings like that, even if you don't think of yourself as an editorial photographer. Yep. There are people that genuinely, you can still be yourself. Like I was saying before, you can double down on yourself, and you don't have to feel like you've got to change who you are as an artist. You can just, for example, Nicole, she saw something in my work, and I'm really grateful for that because after that, I obviously got featured in Vogue, US, Italy, Australia.
Yeah, amazing.
It was huge for me. It was really great. And also it also helped me to realize that I could actually shoot more weddings like that. So that's
you had that
really
caliber. You are that photographer.
I was like, I can do this. Yep. So it was a really but it was one of those weddings where I felt out of depth.
Yep.
But you need to do weddings like that.
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Yep. In order for you to grow, you need to really push yourself. And I also had a really wonderful second shooter, Brendan Woods from Sydney, who's doing amazing stuff now. Yeah. If you haven't, I don't know if you've seen his work, but he's brilliant as well. So I was very fortunate to have him. He didn't get to go on the helicopter. He was very disappointed.
He was happy.
But anyway, yeah.
Okay. On that note, we are going to have to ask you, how can people get in touch with you? Because when they book at Fig Tree, they pretty much got to book you for their wedding photographer.
Well, look, there's like I said, there's some really great photographers in the area, but people can reach out by going to my Instagram, Shane Shepherd Weddings, shaneshepherd.com for my website, and
be ready for a FaceTime.
Be ready.
Will you be here for like the wedding, the Byron Bay wedding fairs and everything? You'll hear.
I usually do the Byron Bay wedding fairs.
Yeah, beautiful. Cool. Perfect.
Awesome. So great to meet you guys.
Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
And, good times.
Loved it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco podcast. We're dropping a fresh episode every week featuring industry professionals dishing out the wedding wisdom you need to turn those dreams into reality. Make sure you are following us on social media, you have those notifications turned on so we can help plan your wedding day. Your dream wedding day just got a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening.